A lot of properties, like you'll go in and they don't want to spend any money on things. You'll look at their couch, like it's fine. It's not up to par that you'd want for your Airbnb, but it's okay. We could just add a little pop of color with throw pillows, with throw blankets. If there's no curtains, we could add some curtains because that's just going to add some color. We could even do patterned curtains to add some texture in there. Maybe it's like mismatched lamps. We could just put new lamps in there. So you have a brown lamp over here, a green lamp over here. Like, why don't we just get two that match? And it kind of like looks a little bit more put together.
Welcome to another episode of Small Town Famous. So today I have Ashley Medico, who is one of the co-owners of Stay Space. They are a co-hosting platform for short-term rentals, and they do design and consulting. So I'm very excited to have Ashley because her husband said that she's the secret sauce.
Thank you. Thank you is just being nice, but yeah, I'll take a little credit.
So one of the things we talked about on the previous episode was that some of the biggest value you can see in a short-term rental property is making it exciting and giving the consumer a great experience at the property. So do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so short-term rental design is totally different than residential design. Residential is more like the neutral colors. We had like the gray era where everything was gray, floors are gray, walls are gray. And then with Airbnb, short-term rental design, you want it bright and fun, exciting. It's a place where people can make memories, take photos. When you set up an Airbnb, the guests want to show where they're staying to their friends. So they want it to look amazing so they can post a picture like, look where I'm staying. So you want to have those Instagram-worthy spots in your property or a view, all those extra little amenities to make it fun and exciting.
Do you have to have a spot in the house in each place that has like the Instagram wall?
I try to incorporate some sort of spot where people can take photos or outside, whether it be like an awesome fire pit or our own personal property. I put a giant gondola into our property. So we set it up. We put some like of the spray snow on the outside, put some twinkle lights in it. So it's a cool little place. Kids can sit and have hot cocoa and just hang out, or adults can sit in it as well.
What are some of the places where you get inspiration for doing the designs on these? Is it per property or what do you think?
So I feel like I'm like aging myself, but I love Pinterest. Looking at things on there, Instagram, looking at different markets outside of New England, because I feel like New England is very conservative with the design for Airbnbs and short-term rentals. And if you look elsewhere, like Orlando, for example, there's these amazing themed properties that have Disney rooms or Marvel rooms or Mario and things like that. And I try to think, how could I incorporate that into the New England market and make it a unique place for someone to stay?
Yeah. Do you ever encourage owners to have themed rooms like that, or do you keep it more of a basic?
I haven't yet. I try to have somewhat of a theme for a property. So if we have a couple in Gloucester, I've done more of like the coastal beachy theme. They may have a specific idea that they want me to run with, and I will go with it. One of the units was the crow's nest, and one was the captain's quarters. So it was a 2-unit property. One was upstairs, one was downstairs. And we were in the kitchen trying to figure out if we were going to do a dining room table or an island. And I'm looking at it, and it's like a long galley kitchen, open, and then the living room is on the other side. And he really was thinking about a table. And I'm like, you know what would be really cool is if we could make a table out of like a boat, like an old boat or something, or even like an island out of a boat. And he's like, yeah, that'd be cool. And we're talking about like the numbers and that it would cost quite a bit. I'm like, it would probably be way over budget. I'm like, it would just be really neat. And then a couple days later, the owner calls me. He's like, so I have Chris, he's going to like try to make a boat island. He's like, we're looking for like an old boat or do something. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. Like, that sounds like awesome. And so he's like, send me some pictures of like your inspiration, like what you're thinking of. And so I did. And I talked to the contractor, and he's like, I don't know if I can like find a boat that would fit in the space, but we're going to try to like make one. And so they did. They like, I don't know how long they spent on it, but they carved the wood. So it was like curved like a boat, and it looked absolutely amazing. And then we got the countertop on top. So they had the countertop cut to fit the boat.
Wow.
And so that's like the focal point in the.
I'm sure everyone takes pictures.
Yeah.
That's why it gets booked.
Yeah. It's awesome.
That's so cool. With stuff like that, it's really cool too that we are in New England because there's so much history here. So with places like Gloucester and up in Maine and stuff, it's got to be cool to like run with the history of the town type thing.
Yeah. And so we had a couple other properties too where I'll research the house, especially because some of the homes are really old. So I'm like, what history does this house have? What did it used to be? I found some really cool artwork of a house that was probably taken back, I don't know, 70 years ago. And it was like a painting and it was what the house looked like way back then. But I could tell based off the houses that it was that house and the street, which was like really cool. And so I had those pictures printed. It was on like Find America. And you can just find all these neat little maps or history about properties. And I like to try to incorporate that when I can.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any properties that you look at maybe in the United States or something that are short-term rentals that you're like, oh God, I really want to go stay there?
Yes. A lot like out in Arizona, there's some really cool places. I mean, there's some cool tree houses. Airbnb lets you kind of pick. There's categories of like unique places to stay. And some are just like over the top that are just like absolutely amazing that it would be cool if we had those in New England, but we don't yet. One day.
I know. I've seen the treehouse ones. Those look really, really cool. Imagine you go on Airbnb and you check out like your criteria treehouse.
And then they have like the hot tubs built up in the treehouse too, which is really neat. And
so wild. I saw an Airbnb in Manchester. I don't know if you've seen this one, and it has a grotto in the basement.
No.
Have you seen that?
No.
It actually sold maybe like a year ago. That's why I saw it. And then I was very confused how it had a grotto. So I went down a rabbit hole and realized that it's a short-term rental. But yeah, they have this white cave in their backyard. And in the cave, it almost looks like a polar bear cave.
Oh, really?
And down under there is a full-on grotto, like uplit light blue.
Wow.
So yeah, there's definitely some creative properties. So how do you take a property that is performing fine, the owner's not mad about it, you know, they're happy with the numbers, but they're thinking maybe we could make more money on this. What are things that you look at to increase the value?
Yeah. So a lot of times if you go on Airbnb, you look at properties, a lot of them look the same. They all have like the same layouts or just basic furniture, mismatched furniture, no pops of color, everything's neutral. And it's like, okay, well, what's exciting about this place? Why do I want to stay at this place versus this place? Like, what's the amenities? When you find some of our properties, not all of them, but any of them that we've helped design, we try to incorporate pops of color, something that's eye-catching. They'll scroll, and then you see all this color. You're like, oh, I want to click that one. I want to look at those pictures. So try to incorporate wallpaper, different wall accents, amenities such as game rooms, video games, arcade games, foosball, hot tub. Those are like really popular things up in this region.
Okay. And do you help the owner of the property? Say you're like, hey, if we put $5,000 into this project of painting an accent wall in every bedroom and maybe touching up the bedding and things like that, this is going to cost you $5,000, but we think it will make you this much more per night. Do you have some sort of analysis like that you will go over with them?
Yeah, I usually leave that up to Daryl to help with the numbers because he's better at that than me, but we use AirDNA that can help evaluate those types of things. And you can kind of go on to and see, like compare properties. And so you can compare a property that has a better design versus a property that doesn't.
When people are looking for a short-term rental, what do you think are like the top 3 amenities that they look for?
One of the biggest, I think, for everyone is Wi-Fi, making sure that you have fast Wi-Fi. I think that's just a standard. But bedding is one of the big ones. You don't want mismatched bedding. We try to go with the white linens so they're easy to clean. They look clean. They look like the hotels. But then you can add pops of color with pillows, etc. Pet friendly is another one. But again, that doesn't focus on design. One thing that I like to do is try to have accent walls. So wallpapers, bright colors. You can even just add curtains, blackout curtains in the bedroom to add some color. And then for amenities, hot tubs are one of the biggest ones in New England. If we can get an owner to put a hot tub in, then that is definitely something that people are attracted to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I was telling Daryl before, that we always rent places with hot tubs. It's just nice to have, especially if the place doesn't have a pool. It's just like an activity we can do as a whole family without having to leave the property.
Yep. And it's something you can use year round too.
When the kids go to bed, it's like something for the adults to do, where especially if you're in a smaller rental place, once the kids go to bed, you can't just hang out in the living room if the bedrooms are right off the living room. So it's nice to have like a little space still on the property where you can go and talk and not feel like you're waking up the whole house.
Right. And even like a nice fire pit outside, having some string lights, just like extra entertaining spaces other than just the living room.
Absolutely. And then I know that some people do kind of like little touches to increase the value of the property, like little things like having a welcome basket and stuff like that, that probably helps with reviews. Are there things like that that you recommend that owners incorporate in their listings?
Yeah, so we do a welcome basket in all of our properties. We'll typically put some popcorn, hot chocolate, granola bars, little mints, gum, anything in there. Sometimes, like if it's like a beach property, we'll put like the little packets of sunscreen, things like that. Yeah, and then we also have a coffee station in every property. So we'll have a Keurig of either just the K-cups or the drip coffee as well. We have like all the coffee syrups, creamer, tea as well, kettle in the property. So if there's a non-coffee drinker, they can still have their tea as well. But I think that's important to have as well in the properties.
Have you ever got a review that like went straight to your heart because you were like, oh, I designed that?
Yes, I have. So we have a property in Gloucester that we kind of did like a Key West theme.
Oh, cool.
And I found these awesome curtains, which I can't find another set of curtains like them because they were just so much fun. And the owner, he loved Key West and it just had all like these fun touches. We have like a green wall with these hexagon wood shelves and the egg chairs and then these bright colored bird pictures and wallpaper, and the guests like would rave about the design. They thought it was so cool because it's something different. It's like you don't have Key West in New England, but it's a cool place to stay. And they raved about it. They're like, where did you get these curtains? Or I love the wallpaper. And I'm like, oh, makes me feel so good. Yeah. I'm like, sorry, but the curtains are no longer available.
Oh my God. Do you ever just go to the store and buy stuff expecting that you'll use it at a property in the future?
Oh, I want to so bad. So this is like my garage is full of stuff that I have that I can use at other properties or I keep just in case. But I always joke, I'm like, I need a storage unit just to keep like for residential design or even for you, probably whoever you use to stage, they probably have like a warehouse full of things. And it's like, oh, one day I want to do that because you do find cool things. And I'm like, oh, I could use this one day. And then I'll get another property. And I'm like, oh, I wish I bought that because that would be perfect.
The time you see a gondola, they only come, I'm sure once a decade or something. So you need to get it while it's available. Oh my God, that's funny. So as far as design, if someone is unwilling to spend a substantial amount of money on their rental property, what is the one thing you would recommend? Say they have $2,500, whatever, small budget. What's one thing that you would say you should do this?
Yeah. So a lot of properties, like you'll go in and they don't want to spend any money on things. You'll look at their couch, like it's fine. It's not up to par that you'd want for your Airbnb, but it's okay. We could just add a little pop of color with throw pillows, with throw blankets. If there's no curtains, we could add some curtains because that's just going to add some color. We could even do patterned curtains to add some texture in there. Maybe it's like mismatched lamps. We could just put new lamps in there. So you have a brown lamp over here, a green lamp over here. Like, why don't we just get two that match? And it kind of like looks a little bit more put together. The white bedding can help just make it look nice and clean in there. And then a big one is making sure you have a fully stocked kitchen. So making sure you have all the pots and pans you need. You have a toaster, if you can put an air fryer. I love putting air fryers, like the combination toaster air fryer. Putting those in the property, having a shaker so parents can have drinks if the kids go to bed, making sure you have like your ice trays, colander, all those just little things that you usually have at home that you don't really think about when you're on vacation, but it's like, oh, they have this. Perfect. So you can make those meals. It's always
really nice when they have the right pots and pans and utensils that I need. We're never cooking anything, extravagant on vacation, but even just like buttered noodles, if I could have like, the proper things to cook that, it's nice to have.
And if we can have a grill at a property, that's huge because a lot of people want to have a grill. And one thing that we try to do with having a grill is having 2 propane tanks. So we never run out of propane because that's like one of the things that can happen. And usually our cleaners are really good about making sure that they check that and replace it if it needs to be, but always having like a backup is...
We run out of propane every Saturday, inevitably in the summer.
You just need to have it hooked to your house.
Exactly. Do you find that it's easier to design a property that was a short-term rental and got sold to someone who intends to keep it a short-term rental versus if it was a residential home that's now being converted into short-term rental? Do you not have a preference?
I don't really have a preference. I think the biggest challenge is making sure that the owners are willing to trust me in what I think would do best for the property. Sometimes they think, oh, this bed is fine. And I'll be like, it's really not. It used to be a crib. It would be better if we could just get rid of it and just buy something else. And we can find like a bed for $200-$300. It's not like we have to spend a insane amount of money, but also making sure you have a quality mattress too. That's a big thing. It's like if you have an old mattress in the room and they're like, oh, this is fine. This mattress is fine. It's like, no, it's not. It's like creaky and it's lopsided. It's like we can get a king mattress for $500. And we usually use the same mattress throughout all of our properties. And guests will ask us, what was the mattress? It was amazing. So, and you don't have to spend a ton of money on that, which I think is great.
Yeah, absolutely. When you do design for clients who are maybe transitioning a property into a short-term rental, how do you handle that design? How do you show them your vision for the property?
Yeah, so I will make mood boards and I try to do some 3D designs as well to show them the space. So I try to build a room that looks like the room that I'm working on. I'll add the windows, add the doors, add the ceiling, light fixtures, anything like that, and put everything that I would put into that room. So any of the nightstands, the wallpaper, the bed, if I have a bench at the end of the bed, any mirrors, maybe on the sides of the walls, so they can kind of visualize it. Because I think a lot of people struggle with being able to visualize a space, which I love to just think, I'm like, oh, what could I do in this room? And I can see it, but to try to show it to someone else so they can see it themselves, I try to put that out there so they can visualize it.
Did you have a background in design or did you just find this as a hobby and ran with it?
Yeah. So long story short, when Daryl started this business, he found that we needed to furnish one of our first properties. And I've always loved to do design, especially like my own house or buy things and change my design in my house all the time, do like floral arrangements, change the artwork, anything like that, like your entry table, holidays. So I've always had just an eye in design. And Daryl thought it would just be a great idea to bring me on because then I'm spending other people's money, not our money.
That is smart.
He would keep me busy like, oh, we have to design this property. We have to design this property. So it's like, you can't spend our money. You have to spend someone else's. So, and I always joked, like, I'm like, I wish I could be a professional shopper for people. Yes. So it kind of like worked out.
Design is my actual worst nightmare. So if you walk into, I don't think you've ever been in our house. All the walls are gray. And as of 2 months ago, you would have never known what family lived in there, except for Kendall's footballs are in the basement. But there were no photos. And we had professional photos done maybe 2 years ago. I did have them framed, but I never hung them until like 6 weeks ago. I had the kids. February was awful. The kids were sick all the time. So I had them home for like a week and I was going crazy and needed to do something. So I started hanging up artwork. So now you can tell that there's 3 children that live in this house. But like, it's just barren. I have no visualization skills of how to picture what something will look like in my room.
Yeah. It's a challenge. Yeah. It's hard. I mean, I have stuff in my house too that I want to hang and it's like, when it's your own space, it's harder to put things up. I'll take forever to design my house, but a rental property, I'm like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And it's like, I don't know, it's just more fun and exciting and you can use all those colors and be creative. It's like making a space that's memorable. It's not something that you're going to live in every day, but you'll remember the property that you stayed at.
I love that. That's got to be one of the big things that you keep in mind when you're designing it, right? Like, let's make it memorable for the guest.
Yep, exactly. And I like to use, I'll make like a color palette of different colors that I'll use and have it bright and exciting. It's not your typical resident property where you have to stare at this blue wall all the time or this crazy wallpaper or
you're committed to it for a week.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be fun for photos and it's a conversation piece.
Do you find that the owners of the properties that you help with are open to further enhancing properties? Like if you say, hey, this one particular feature in this house is doing great. I know that we put up some money into your property 2 years ago, but are you open to doing this? I think it would be a great investment for you. Do you find that people are open to that in general?
Some are, some aren't. And it depends on what it is and if they feel like it's needed. One struggle that we find is we'll go in with a client and they'll be like, oh, I want to get it rented first and then we can do design.
At the time
and then,
of it.
Yes. And then we try to explain, well, we can do that, but you're not going to make the money that you want to make without putting the design in first.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be one of the other 100 other rentals on the market. So if we put money into it now, you're going to make that money back. So that's one of the struggles, is just trying to make people realize that. So we'll show them some of our properties where owners don't want to update, and then we'll show them properties where we have updated the property and compare to show like how much more money you can make.
And where you assist people, you have contractor relationships in those towns and stuff so that you can kind of get people in on a timely basis, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a whole bunch of contractors in all the markets. Our cleaning team is great. They'll go in and help. We have a professional photographer and videographer that will go in, and they do awesome lifestyle photos after the property's done and make these really cool videos of the property as well. So it just makes it more of an experience.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
What is the longest renovation that you've overseen for a property?
Well, I would probably say the challenge is just making sure the contractor gets everything done. So we could have a time frame, but it may not necessarily work out that well, just depending on like if something needs to be finished or if something's not in stock. Other than that, I would say like 8 weeks or so we can from start to finish, as long as everything goes smoothly. If there's no big renovations, it's just ordering furniture and getting it ready to go. After the design is all set in place, we can probably get it up and running in like 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay. What is the highest turnover on furniture?
Bedding,
couches,
bedding and linens. We haven't actually had a horrible experience with turning over couches. I think our mattresses hold up pretty well. We picked decent items, and things that can be easily cleaned. So I know like there's all those really cute dining chairs with the fabric. It's like, those aren't ideal for a short-term rental. You want something that is a washable surface. So those work out pretty well. Maybe rugs. Sometimes rugs, they can be damaged, but overall, we haven't had a ton that needed to be turned over recently for larger furniture.
Good.
I would just say bedding is one of the bigger ones.
And then do you ever, I mean, I'm sure you do deal with it, but do you ever have like damage done, extensive damage done to the property by people that are renting them? Or is it kind of just always like little things?
Mostly just little things, nothing over the top where we have to replace like a whole bed or a whole nightstand or a table or anything like that. It might just be little wear and tear. And a lot of guests are really good about like saying, hey, I accidentally broke your lamp, or I broke a glass, or anything like that. Just small little things, nothing big, no TVs or anything like that. Well, actually, we did have one where somehow a or a pool ball managed to fly across the room and hit a TV. But that was like once in a lifetime thing. Yeah. I'm like, how did it get from there to there?
In the previous episode, I had spoken with Daryl about how, as an owner, when you're trying to find the right property, you have a vision for what you want to do with that property. What's your goal? Are you going to have it as an investment or as something that you want to also enjoy? So once you have the property secured and you're thinking through this design stuff and you're working with Stay Space, do you picture an ideal client for who's going to be renting the space?
Yeah, so I'll ask the owner what their ideal guest avatar is. So are they looking to have this property focused on families, or is it just couples, or do you want it to be like a bachelor pad, which most people in this area do not, because that's not what we're going
You'll
for.
Get more pool balls.
Yeah. Nashville, Arizona, you might see that, but not here. And a lot of times it's families, just because a lot of families go to North Conway for skiing, or in the summertime, they'll go to Storyland, downtown, the lakes, hiking, things like that. So if it's focused on family, we want to make sure that we have some fun kids' rooms available, making sure we have a pack and play, a high chair, some games for the kids to play, maybe something outside that they can do, whether it be like a swing or just some kind of yard game. We've had like a ninja course set up at one of our properties too. A fire pit. So at night you can roast s'mores with your family and sit by the fire. A hot tub is always a plus. So a lot of times it's focusing on the family and those little amenities that you would think, okay, what can we put in our property so families don't have to bring it? And it can even be a stroller. Some of our properties will have a stroller available if they need it as well. So
That's interesting because so in my real estate business, so much of what we do is geared towards our ideal client, and it does attract my ideal client. I gear all of my social media and marketing towards my ideal client. And so it makes sense that as the owner, you're going to gear your property exactly towards your ideal client. You'll always obviously get all walks of life, but you're creating it for one person rather than just having a smorgasbord of a bunch of different things that doesn't make sense to anybody.
Right. And like even just we try to put smart TVs in all of our properties. So one, the owners don't need to pay for cable. We'll put TVs that you can log into your own account. So you can log into your own Netflix, Hulu, YouTube TV, anything like that. And we have a way, there's like a guest mode, so we can set that up. So you put in your check-in date and your checkout date, so it'll log you all out completely.
Nice.
Yeah, which is great.
I didn't know that existed. So we had to change our passwords for a lot of things because we rent probably like 4 or 5 Airbnbs a year, just different trips we go on. And we never log out. And so we'll be like, try to log into Netflix one day in our bedroom. And it's like, you're using too many accounts. We're like, what do you mean? It's just us. Yeah. But it's like Florida, San Diego, North Conway, Maine.
So that's like a nice little feature because sometimes guests will be like, oh, I forgot to log out. Can you lock me out? And it's like, that's in place. So we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And then we also will try to have, like, if we can, we have a movie room in one of our properties, which is great. Kids can play video games in there. We also have an Xbox and we pay for the Game Pass. So they can log in and play a bunch of games, or you can watch a movie down there, which is great. And so we have like the reclining seats. They have like the little tray tables that light up and then some chairs below. So it's kind of like the stadium seating.
Cool. Yeah. We've got a ton of reviews on that.
Yes. One of our friends went up over February break and she's like, I lost my kids in the movie room. Like they're just down there the whole time.
Dungeon.
Yep. I'm like, that's great. And like, now you can have the rest of the house to yourself with your husband and enjoy. Yeah.
So when you and Daryl are helping people in the initial stages of, they say, hey, I think I want to get a short-term rental. I'm not sure where to get it. Do you have any preference as far as being, say for North Conway, like being close to Storyland or being close to the water? Or do you prefer more of like a residential neighborhood? What do you kind of gear more towards?
So it depends on if you want to have, like, I think most of the properties in North Conway, if you want walking distance to downtown, they're all relatively close together.
Yeah.
So it depends on if you want to have a walking distance property where it might be a little bit noisier. We could add sound machines into the property so the kids can sleep, and make sure we have blackout curtains, having earplugs there for guests if it's really noisy. But if you want to focus more on those adventurous people that maybe want to hike or you want to have an awesome view with an outdoor space, then I would say something a little bit further away from downtown where it's still drivable, but it's more secluded. So you have more of like the nature vibe, and we can just incorporate a really cool outdoor space so they can enjoy both indoors and outdoors.
It's interesting because I had said before, we kind of just jumped into getting a short-term rental and immediately pretty much regretted it and sold it. But it sounds like where our mistake was we didn't do the prep work to figure out like who is our ideal client, what is our goal for the property. We just saw it as like a way to make extra money, which it was. But I think if you like you guys have really said, if you do the prep work ahead of time to make sure that everyone is on the same page for what this property is going to be used for and who's going to be using it, then it probably ends up being a really great investment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Orlando, unfortunately, I hate saying it's saturated, but there are so many short-term rentals in Orlando. And to really stand out, you have to spend $100,000 to really make it an awesome place to stay. And you're still going to have a lot of competition. So I feel like up here, there are a lot of short-term rentals, but not, if that makes sense. And if you can just make your property stand out, then you are going to get those bookings. And you can do that with just design and amenities in the property.
So if someone is considering this, they're looking into getting a short-term rental and they would like to work with Stay Space, what does it look like for someone to start working with you? Say if they don't know where they want to buy, they just know, say, the state of New Hampshire. What does that look like? Yeah,
so we'll have like an initial call, Daryl and I. So Daryl works all the numbers on which areas will work. He'll work with you with like your ROI to see where you'll get the most bang for your buck, and making sure that we have enough put aside for design. And we'll have an initial call, decide what your guest avatar is, where you're looking to purchase and then help you with trying to find a property. And then once you do, we'll discuss design. We'll see, is there anything specific that you want in the property or you don't want? Or are you willing to spend money on a hot tub? Are you willing to spend money on a sauna? Can we put a fire pit outside, like a really nice one with some chairs, put some string lights out there? What are those extra amenities? What are you willing to purchase to make your place over the top and stand out? And then we'll get into design. I will create mood boards for each room. I love when guests or when clients let me just kind of run with it and let my imagination go wild. And I'll come up with these like awesome rooms with wallpaper and colors and different beds that we can put in there and amenities. They usually are always happy. I haven't had a client not happy with anything that I've designed, which is good.
Touche.
Yeah. Knock on wood.
Yeah, exactly. If you personally could buy a short-term rental right now and you just had no budget, you could buy whatever you wanted, where would you buy?
Oh, well, if I could buy anywhere, it would be Winnipesaukee because I love it. But then I would probably want to use it way too much. And then it wouldn't be that great of an investment. I think the top markets in New Hampshire are Lincoln, North Conway, Mount Washington Valley. And I think the Hampton Beach would do well as well, like especially in the summertime.
Yeah.
If you can get on the water or at least like really close to the water across the street. Having a view is huge. People like to have that view to look out to. But even like some of the smaller lakes in the state will do well because there's not so much traffic on the water. So you can still rent a boat or take a jet ski out or go fishing, go kayaking. It all depends on what people are looking for.
Yeah. I love that. It's interesting. Daryl was saying earlier about he likes buying places that have a lot of hotel rooms under construction. I actually was just reading an article a couple of weeks ago about how North Conway has more hotel rooms under construction than any other town in the United States.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty incredible. It's probably a few different hotels, but, you know, that's a lot for a small town. But I see so many people who want to buy short-term rentals in that town. And you'd think if there's that many hotel rooms, then you're probably not going to sell the short-term rentals as much. But it's not the case. So many people want to go there, and there's just not enough places to stay.
Yeah.
You need both.
And I think one of the biggest perks to Airbnbs is like or short-term rentals is you have your own space. You have a full kitchen. Some of the hotels, they'll give you a kitchenette, but you don't have a full functioning kitchen, a full fridge. You don't have your own private fire pit. You don't have your own private hot tub.
Yeah.
You're not sharing the whole space with other people, which it can work for other people. Some people may not want that. They may want to be right down the room from someone else. They want the check in, check out easy. They're planning to go out to dinner all the time. But there are families that with allergies and food conscious, they want to have their own space. They want to cook their own meals. And I think another nice perk too is like we can add fitness items in the property.
Absolutely.
So yoga mats, kettlebells.
I think a big thing right now is the saunas and the cold baths.
Yes.
Doing like a wellness retreat.
Yeah, we have talked about doing the cold plunge. We haven't done it yet, but that's definitely like on my radar to do it. Just nervous about people like getting hurt or not knowing what they're doing.
Death.
Yeah. Because you never know, you know.
You don't know what their level of knowledge is.
Yes.
I get it. Okay, so again, if anyone would like to work with Stay Space, do you want to tell them how to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so stayspace.net is our website, and we have a Facebook page, Stay Space Rentals, and Instagram. You can also reach me at Ashley@stayspace.net.
Perfect. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.